I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue.
Welcome to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels, where we talk about your experiences, advocacy news, research, and today's heroes for kids. We are here to bring hope to the unthinkable but real experience of a child diagnosed with cancer. Jack's Angels advocacy mission is to provide a voice for children with cancer to effect change for a more hopeful future for those to come. Childhood Cancer Talk Radio starts right now. Here is your host, Janet Demeter. Hello, everyone. On TogiNet.com, I'm Janet Demeter, your host for Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, and I'm coming to you today from a very special gathering of pediatric cancer researchers, parents, and advocates for the summer nano course at the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute, or CCTDI, in Beaverton, Oregon. It's a short course of study which involves parents and advocates in the research process as they learn to navigate the landscape of research protocol, funding, and project direction. And they're engaged in the process of writing an editorial for publication in Pediatric Blood and Cancer, a journal of the American Society of Pediatric Hematology Oncology, in support of their research project. The Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute scientific director, and co-founder is Dr. Charles Keller, whose research focuses on the development of more effective, less toxic therapies for childhood cancers. Charles co-chairs the Brain Tumor Developmental Therapeutics Committee of the Children's Oncology Group and is a member of the Soft Tissue Sarcoma Committee of the very same group, and recently completed a 5-year rotation as standing member of the National Cancer Institute NCI-1 study section. We've been fortunate to have Dr. Keller on the show before to introduce the Institute in our February 4th podcast of this year, and also to discuss an innovative project which addresses one of the main challenges to treating DIPG, perhaps the deadliest pediatric brain tumor, called Jack's 12 Pebbles, in our May 5th podcast. So for more details about the Institute, its founding and co-founder and general counsel, Jonathan Agin, also one of our country's foremost advocates for children with cancer, please feel free to download these podcasts. So, why is this so important? My friends, if you didn't already know, it's because of parents that we have some of the most innovative research projects for pediatric cancer. Our medical research system model serves first and foremost the profit and marketing motivations of private sector investors. And in the childhood cancer community, thanks to the work of advocates like Jonathan Agin and Nancy Goodman and Ellen Miller. Nancy Goodman, of course, is with Kids v. Cancer at kidsvcancer.org, who was recently on our show to talk about the Race for Children Act. We have legislation opportunities which promise incentives and provisions for childhood cancer research with the private sector, hence more urgently needed funding. However, the issue of our government funds purposed for cancer research remains unresolved. Because the number of children with cancer is smaller than adults, only 4% of our National Cancer Institute budget for research benefits all pediatric research, clearly insufficient to make a dent in the wall of challenges that our most deadly cancers present, and no matter how many children continue to die regularly and without fail. But the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute is in its second year and is still essentially startup nonprofit biotech company, yet in its first year contributed more to drug development for children with cancer than what our entire industry produced in 30 years. Just last year, a new treatment for neuroblastoma was formulated for children, but preceding that, only 2 drugs were developed for children in all that time of 3 decades. So with the goal of eradicating childhood cancer in all of its forms, CCTDI's new therapies passed FDA approval last year, and the work continues on the cutting edge of the frontiers of biotechnology. So the summer nano course participants are grouped into 3 teams, one studying rhabdomyosarcoma, anaplastic Wilms tumor, and the third team is working on ASPS, or alveolar soft parts sarcoma. Students are privy to lectures from the world's foremost experts in the field, including Yossi Lensman of iCure ASPS and Karyopharm, and Dr. Charles Keller of CCTDI, Dr. James Geller of Cincinnati Children's Hospital, Dr. Atiya Mansour, pathologist at the Oregon Health and Science University, and experts from other fields, including private sector funding, grassroots support, and even animal studies essential to creating viable research projects. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our first nanocourse participant, Andrew Woods. He's the father of an anaplastic Wilms tumor cancer survivor, and he's interested in the research side of cancer treatment since his family's experience. And he was involved with getting a new clinical trial launched for children with advanced Wilms tumor, and founded the Rare Childhood Cancer Advocacy Group, which helps families with children. Are you there? Welcome to the show.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah.
We're glad you're here with us today. So could you tell us a little bit about your initial experience and how you're developing the Rare Childhood Cancer Advocacy Group and how you made your way to the Institute?
Sure, yeah. So my oldest daughter was diagnosed with Wilms tumor, about 5 years ago in 2011. And as I'm sure everybody who's listening can relate, it was a really life-changing, shocking, and terrible experience all wrapped up into one. So we are from Montana, and we're diagnosed in Montana. But the first issue we ran into in childhood cancer world is it's just a very small population. So in fact, Montana, while it's a large state, only has a total population of 1 million people. So they get very few cases of pediatric cancer. So our first challenge was determining where to get treated. And so while we're from Montana, we had to move to Seattle for treatment. And
wow.
And my daughter's particular version of Wilms tumor was very advanced and tricky. So we had to get to a major center, and we were there for almost 2 years going through treatment.
Wow. And so how did you find out about CCTDI and what they were doing here?
Okay, so the first maybe year or so that we were in treatment, we were just kind of learning all about childhood cancer, going through the clinical experience of it, and basically just trying to survive. In the second year, it became pretty apparent that the treatment options available for her, they weren't that good. You know, like while we had a treatment option, everybody was telling us it was highly unlikely to actually work. So what that did for myself personally was kind of inspire becoming involved. So I really wanted to get involved in research and to try to make a difference, not only for my own daughter, but the other kids that were in this same terrible position. So, so in that process of researching and learning more about cancer and more in depth of the science, I came across Dr. Charles Keller's Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute, and I was networking at that time, so I reached out to him. We made a connection. He was very helpful, and he also suggested attending the pediatric nano course. So last year, I went to it for the first time, and just found it to be a super cool experience. It was really enlightening. Got to get into the lab, actually, see some experiments going on, shadow some researchers, and then they did all these cool presentations from different people, different aspects, not just scientists, but people from pharma, and they introduced all the challenges that we often face in childhood cancer. So I became interested in that, and I actually asked Charles afterwards if I could do a summer internship at his lab. So instead of just spending 1 week of the summer, we kind of set up this plan that the next week or the next summer I could come out and do a 6-week internship. And so this is kind of the end of that. I've been out here most of the summer working on a project that's focused on anaplastic Wilms tumor. It's been a lot of fun, and then it sort of is all coming together here at the end in the nano course this year.
That's fantastic. It all seems to be kind of an eclectic group of people. What do you think you gain the most of from interacting with people at the Institute? I have my own, I'm just experiencing it for the first time, but I wanted to ask you, how has it really helped you the most?
Sure. So one of the great aspects of the nano course is it's a great networking opportunity. So you have all these people from sort of different walks of life that all come together for a week, and the common denominator there is that they're all interested in childhood cancer. And so it's really neat. Like you get sort of the scientist side, you get some representatives of pharma, their side. There's people from advocacy groups. There's fundraisers. You just get this really broad mix of people all together in one room. And then, of course, you go out to lunch and to dinners together, and you get a chance to really know each other and develop some deep relationships, which is it's very important to getting work done in the childhood cancer community.
Absolutely. Wow. I want to also introduce Jessica Hurst, who's with you, but pretty soon, in just a few seconds here, we're going to have to take a quick break. Jessica she's with the Macy Eastham Childhood Cancer Research Foundation, emphasizing research in hepatoblastoma. We'll be back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors. You're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, where kids come first for the cure, brought to you by Jack's Angels Foundation for pediatric brain tumor awareness and research, on the web at www.jacksangels.org. This special program today is coming to you live from the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward, with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Did you hear about the Gaberlunzie bear caught rummaging through a refrigerator in an apartment in Colorado? The tenant heard noises coming from the kitchen and saw a bear with his head in the fridge, looking for anything it could eat. What's a word for food that's unfit for human consumption? Ma wallop. The tenant locked himself in his bedroom and called for help. What's a word for the fear of bears? Ursophobia. We have lots of bears near our Colorado cabin, and we have been told that pepper spray will keep them away. But the idea that it would keep a 500-pound grizzly bear from attacking seems ridiculous to me. I think I'll try the pepper spray on myself and hope the bear doesn't like spicy foods.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Welcome back to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where every child is a life, not a number, on TogiNet.com. And we're coming to you today live from the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute at the 2016 Pediatric Cancer Nano course, the goal of which is to train members of the public to act as informed liaisons between childhood cancer researchers and the community. And before the break, we were talking with Andrew Woods, who is here this year at the Institute actually doing an internship, a 6-week internship, and studying the anaplastic Wilms tumor, doing that project. And Andy, before the break, you were talking about the importance of having all these diverse, people coming from diverse areas of the field and collaborating and forming personal relationships, and how powerful an experience that was. Are you there, Andy? I don't know if we still have him. Well, that's okay, because I wanted to introduce Jessica before, but we were busy. Jessica Hurst is with the Macy Easom Childhood Cancer Research Foundation, which emphasizes research funding in hepatoblastoma. And the foundation was created in 2012, continuously growing. And she's also had the opportunity to work with a group, the same group as Andy, studying the Wilms tumor here at the Pediatric Cancer Nano course. Jessica, are you there?
Yes. Hello, Janet. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. Thank you. So glad you're here with us today. So could you tell us a little bit about what the experience here at the Nano course has been like for you?
Yes, absolutely. The experience has been just phenomenal. For those who were listening earlier, Andrew noted that there are people from all different aspects and walks, and he mentioned the common folk, and I think I fall a little more under that category, as I'm here on representation of a research foundation who is able to help fund rare childhood cancer research. And being able to have the opportunity to work hand in hand with these brilliant minds, people of all walks, it's been such an honor to learn and see the things that we really don't see on the outside, to see the research and the details and the hours and the time that it takes to get one step closer for finding those cures.
Absolutely. And I know that it takes a special kind of person to get involved with this kind of work. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved with the foundation, the Macy Easom Foundation?
Yes, absolutely. The Macy Easom Foundation was founded in 2012. It was actually created in memory of Macy Easom, who had passed away at the young age of 5 with hepatoblastoma, which is a rare childhood cancer of the liver. As the foundation was created, it began, the first research fund was created by a golf tournament. And with my background of event coordinating, I was able to help our founder, Lisa Easom Howard, put together something, and it has just blossomed. And now I am the events coordinator and director for the foundation, and as well as the regional director for the Texas region. This foundation was founded in Georgia, in the central Georgia area, and we have been able to branch and grow. So it has just been a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Oh, wow. That's great. I found that coming here, I too am pretty much blown away by the brilliance of the individuals that are brought together and their dedication to the research and to helping our kids with cancer. And really identifying also, this whole institute really founded on the idea of bridging that gap between promising research and actual therapies for children, and doing 2 of those in their first year is just absolutely, that blows me away. I'm not surprised.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and it's so neat to see from the research, well, for the funding side, even as a small foundation, it's so wonderful to actually see where your money is going. So many times we as people give to to whatever it may be that we want to give to, but do we really have the transparency to see what we're doing with our money, small or big amounts? So
Yes.
this has just been, so it's wonderful to see actually what it's going to, and that I think we're moving in a great direction. I think that we're doing good. They're doing exceptional, and we're just glad to be a small part of that.
Well, we're glad you're here because honestly, it's because of foundations like yours, the one you work for, and parents and advocates coming together that there is some of this research. I mean, really, because as you were saying, when you give to research, it's really important to know where it's going. And oftentimes with a lot of big groups, you don't know. And certainly you absolutely can't specify if it's going to a certain very rare cancer like hepatoblastoma, and I know for my son he had DIPG, and these they're all the deadliest pediatric cancers are all labeled rare and receive the same kind of brush off from industry.
Absolutely, yes. And one note too that I learned going into this, as far as a lot of your foundations, you think, oh well, so-and-so may work for a foundation, but what they don't realize is so many of us are actually volunteers. And with our Macy Esom Childhood Cancer Research Foundation, and you can find this at princessmacy.org, that 98% of everything that we get is automatically turned into a research fund that is funded places that like CCTR and other places. Which, to me, that helps. That is so wonderful, because so many times you wonder, okay, well, I'm giving this amount, but how much of my money is really going to help somebody?
Right, and then of course anybody can give and make a difference that way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You know exactly where it's going. And that's another wonderful thing about this institute is folks that they partner with parents and foundations on different projects that are important to you. So please check out, first of all, I love this foundation, princessmacy.org. That's www.princessmacy.org. And for CCTDI, visit www.cc-tdi.org. That's cc-tdi.org for more information about their board, the researchers, their interns. It's really a really dynamic and happy place, actually, to visit. I've had a wonderful time since I've been here. And I'm, although my focus has been on brain tumors and DIPG specifically, I'm just blown away by the similarity between the difficulty in funding. The whole reason why I've ever carried the banner of DIPG is to exemplify this very fact. And it's incredible to come here and to see it and to have all these people coming together and finding solutions. I didn't know how pharma really worked or how the venture capitalists worked, and we've gotten all sorts of really good information that we can apply to help, and there's legislation coming up also that is hopefully going to help with that. But at any rate, it's been an eye-opening experience, I know on my end.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And so what are your plans with the project that you're working on? How is that coming together for the anaplastic Wilms tumor?
Anaplastic Wilms, we are, well, to say the least, we have learned a lot, more so I have had the opportunity to work with Andrew, who has obviously put in, because this is a project near and dear to his heart, and this has been part of his internship. So he has been able to forefront so many of the hours that goes into the research and the knowledge, and so it's been quite interesting learning what has happened in the past of research, and actually just how our technology is so advanced, but how often do we actually use that? And that's what we're learning, and so we're hoping to maybe help with some future in the technology with biogenics and the research of certain things with anaplastic wilms that will maybe possibly be able to be applied to other cancers as well.
Yes, the adaptability of the research is pretty much unparalleled in pediatric cancer research, though it's ignored a lot of the time, right?
Right.
That's great. That's great. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about Macy-ESUM, or what your plans are with what you've brought or gathered here from the Institute, or going to take back with you to your foundation?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Here, networking has been incredible. There are so many different people from all over the nation, actually, that have really come together in this annual course. This is my first personal experience with the nano course. Normally, we have somebody, the actual founder, Lisa, of our foundation, has been able to attend in the past, and just to be able to take that back and build these relationships with these people that is going to help not just myself or the Macy-ESUM Foundation, but all of those in attendance and who will be in attendance next year and so on as it continues to grow and blossom.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'll definitely be taking that back, yes.
Well, I'm so glad to have met you. It's just been a breath of fresh air. I've enjoyed meeting everyone, but really, thank you so much for coming on and for talking with me. I want to let people know again that please visit princessmacy.org for more information about the Macy-ESUM Foundation. It's called Macy-ESUM Childhood Cancer Research Foundation, which emphasizes funding in hepatoblastoma. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, hepatoblastoma, yes. That's a chunk of a word. Well, thank you so much, right? Janet. Thank you so much.
You've been great. Thank you. And we hope to hear from you again sometime in the future. We're going to have to take a quick break now to acknowledge our sponsors on TogiNet.com. You're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, powered by Jack's Angels Foundation for pediatric brain tumor awareness and research, on the web at jacksangels.org. I'm Janet Demeter, your host. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us because we know that quilting changes everything.
It's words you never heard.
Did you know you can burn as many calories in 45 minutes of yard work as in 30 minutes of aerobics? Yard work is a total body workout consisting of pushing, pulling, lifting, and carrying. Using a push mower alone can burn 300 to 500 calories in an hour. Raking and bagging with a pooking fork, that's a fork often used in gardening, burns about 330 calories per hour. Cleaning and digging with the dibble, that little hand spade, can burn approximately 400 calories an hour. Stay fit by horb-gorbling. That's just puttering around the yard. To me, a perfect summer day is when the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and the lawnmower is broken.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
Welcome back to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. Today, we are coming to you live from the CCTR Pediatric Cancer Nano Course, a nonprofit biotech in its second year. The Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute has for its mission to translate scientific discoveries into clinical trials for children with pediatric cancer, research that has fallen through the cracks in our system, so to speak, for a very long time. For more information about the Institute and its work, please visit www.cc-tdi.org. So before we continue with our outstanding guest today, I'll make our weekly advocacy report very brief and to the point. This research that's happening at the Institute and the creativity involved with developing these projects is funded to a large extent by parents and the work of foundations specific to the research, again, founded by parents. This crucial funding is still quite inadequate to make speedy progress towards solutions for the deadliest pediatric cancers, which have been long neglected by our system. So it's very important for you, the audience out there, to understand that there is some crucial legislation currently pending, literally to be decided next month, which could make or break very important private sector investment incentives for pediatric cancer research. In other words, for our kids to have solutions for their cancer, this private sector funding through vouchers in the Creating Hope Act could truly facilitate new growth in economy and, most importantly, solutions for our children with terminal cancer. Please encourage your representatives in Congress to sign the 21st Century Cures Act into law. It incorporates the Creating Hope Act. We've been learning about this at the Nano Course and also realize that we must work with what we have to get the job done in the world at large. Talking to my audience, of course, I know we're all over the world, in Australia, UK, around the world. Please hold the United States accountable for leadership it claims in scientific progress for humanitarian concerns like medical research, and continue to support your own researchers and your own representatives in that quest. So, instead of going into great detail about this legislation, I would advise you to go to jacksangels.org, go to the advocacy page. It is updated fairly regularly. It's due for one this evening, but it should have the STAR Act, the Race for Children, and HOS 586 on there for you. And now I am so happy to introduce you to two folks that are working in one of the groups, the research project groups here, on ASPS. That's alveolar soft part sarcoma. Nathan Trawler is here with us, and Max Bateman. Max has been here before at the Institute. He's a young man, very involved with the research activity. Could I say hello to you both? Are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Nathan, could you tell us a little bit about this amazing project that you're working on? Hello, Nathan, can you hear me? Max, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Yay, Max. So, would you like to introduce this, one of three important research projects that we're working on at the Institute?
I cannot introduce ASPS since I'm not on that team.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were. Forgive me. So you're on the rhabdomyosarcoma team. Could you tell us about that? That's great. I didn't know we had someone representing that team. Perfect. Thank you, Max. You're golden.
Well, rhabdomyosarcoma is basically a muscle cancer. It can come up in most any muscle in your body. And our team is we're going to write the roadmap for rhabdomyosarcoma relapse. There are no roadmaps that we have found so far for this, and rhabdomyosarcoma pretty much will always come back.
Wow. So how do you start with that?
Well, start with a lot of research. Right now we're trying to find...
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
been looking through a lot of different papers trying to find specific numbers because we all have a general idea, but, science stuff, we have to actually cite the papers. So basically that's where we're at right now. We're doing a lot of research and then putting together our roadmap for the roadmap.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's hard is there a good amount of data on rhabdomyosarcoma for you guys to put this together? Is that one of your challenges?
In comparison to the other childhood cancers in this nano course, yes, there is a lot of information.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
However, we're still having trouble finding the numbers just because it's the specific information. It's I believe that only 3% of the pediatric cancer cases in the U.S. per year are actually rhabdo.
Oh, wow. You see, this is the thing. When you come here, I thought, and what my son had was very rare, but you learn about all these other ones that are, just as deadly, potentially in their own way, and the kids, suffering the same lack of research support. Yep. Could you tell me a little bit about what you like the most about this project, and perhaps have you contributed to the roadmap, and if so, tell us about it.
Well, so far, my favorite part of this project has been just thinking about things from the patient side. When I was here at the nano course last year, we started with a fairly unknown cancer, so we had to start at the very beginning from even the research side to write our roadmap. But this year, we're writing from the clinical side of it, which is a nice new perspective for me.
So you're writing it, I'm sorry, could you repeat for me? I'm a little dumb in the ears today.
We're writing our roadmap from the patient side or the clinical side as opposed to the research side, which is what most of the teams have to do this year.
I see. So is that in reference to data and what you're analyzing?
That's in reference to who would read the paper, read the roadmap. It's for basically for parents whose kid has rhabdomyosarcoma and what they can do after he or she is in remission before it comes back. What can they do instead of sitting around?
Oh, perfect. A plan. That's very helpful. Awesome, Max. So this is your second year. Can you tell us a little bit about your first and how you first were introduced to the Institute?
Well, it all starts with my parents, actually. They've been working in the pediatric cancer world as volunteers for fundraising for 14 years.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And how old are you, Max?
I am 14.
You're 14. You're so tall. Wow. I'm so glad you're here. There are some other young people as well, folks listening out there. And it's just such a treat to have them. Some of them are just interested in cancer, maybe don't want to pursue it. And then we have Max here, whose parents have been involved for years, and he's checking it out. So, what did you study last year?
Last year we studied hepatoblastoma, which I was I was actually part of the team that was sent up by the Macy's and Cancer Research Foundation.
Oh, very good. Very good. So are you using some of what you learned in this particular paper, or is it completely different?
It's actually very different because of the amount of research that has already been done on rhabdo. Last year we had to start from the very beginning because they didn't have any cell lines or really anything to experiment on. But this year, CCTR already has several drugs that are in clinical trials, so we're having to write it a different way.
Wow. And right, of course, aimed to help the parents or caregivers, yes. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So what do your folks think about it?
Well, my mom and dad are both very excited about it. My dad's actually here at the nano course with me.
And you, of course, are working on different teams.
Yeah.
It's great. Okay, Max. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your project or what you're picking up here at the Institute, what you'd like to do with what you're learning?
Well, I'm not sure the specifics of it all just yet because I'm 14 years old. I haven't looked into it enough, but I just think that this is a cool thing. And if you're listening and you're young and you're thinking about going into cancer research and you don't know where to start, just open a book or pull up a website and start reading. I mean, there's a lot of big words, but big words have simple meanings, and you'll start understanding it, and pretty soon you'll be an expert.
Thank you, Max. That's awesome. I hope there are some young people listening. We have a lot of podcast download listeners, but you know, I'm always happy when I hear that the kids are listening, because there are a lot of siblings out there as well of children with cancer who need a focus and want to do something to help. And you're a really good example of educating yourself and also taking the lead from your folks. I really applaud them for what they do. And I'm so glad you're here at the Institute this year. Do you think you'll come again next year?
If Dr. Keller lets me.
Oh, I don't know. I think he will. Well, we're going to have to take another break. And thank you so much, Max, for joining us. It's been wonderful to talk with you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. You're listening to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, where kids come first for the cure. Brought to you by Jack's Angels Foundation for Pediatric Brain Tumor Awareness and Research, on the web at www.jacksangels.org. This special program today is coming to you live from the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute, translating scientific discovery into clinical trials for children with cancer. We'll be right back after these messages from our TogiNet sponsors. Don't go away.
Stay tuned. Janet will be right back with more on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where kids come first for the cure.
Years ago, some fishermen off the coast of Italy discovered some pottery along with fish in their nets. Divers were called out and discovered an ancient Roman ship whose galley, or caboose, a nautical term for kitchen, was extremely intact. Some of the food uncovered on board was pickled fish, wine, oil, and grain used to make the ship's biscuits, otherwise known as dandy funks. It is thought the 2,000-year-old boat was probably on its way to Spain when it sunk and was covered by layers of mud, baggy wrinkles and all. Baggy wrinkles are another name for the ship's ropes. The mud protected the ship from wear, explaining why the leftover food on board was still in such good condition. We land lubbers may not be familiar with leftovers on the sea, but we are familiar with leftovers in our kitchen.
It's Marching Neighbor.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
To lose weight, we know that each day we need to burn more calories than we take in through eating, and exercise burns more calories. According to Discovery Health, a 150-pound person will burn about 60 calories while taking a 1-hour nap. 1 hour of sitting and watching television burns about the same. But if that 150-pound person takes a 1-hour brisk walk, then say goodbye to more than 250 calories. Cardio exercise like running, biking, swimming, and brisk walking are the best modes of exercise to burn the highest amount of calories and will get the endorphins flowing in your body. Those feel-good neurotransmitters boost your mood naturally. So use exercise to burn calories, lose weight, and to feel good. I'm Annette Hammond. To hear other fitness and weight loss tips, visit our website at AnnetteHammond.com.
You'll always have my shoulder when you
Welcome back to more great conversation on Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, because every child's life deserves hope. Here's Janet.
And welcome back to Childhood Cancer Talk Radio, where every child is a life, not a number, on TogiNet.com. And we're coming to you today live from the Children's Cancer Therapy Development Institute at the 2016 Pediatric Cancer Nano Course, the goal of which is to train members of the public to act as informed liaisons between childhood cancer researchers and the community. And we have had already 2 of the study groups on, one for anaplastic Wilms tumor and one for rhabdomyosarcoma. And now it is my great pleasure to speak with Nathan Troller, who is, let's see, I'm sorry, I almost lost this. Okay, let me back up a bit and say the summer nano course participants are grouped into 3 teams that I just said. This one is the ASPS group headed by Nathan Troller. That's alveolar soft part sarcoma. Nathan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Janet.
I'm so glad. As I had told you before, I'd been a little bit mixed up with the order of people, and so I just want to make sure I let people know who you are and what you're about. You've started a foundation or a group, for an advocacy group, correct, for pediatric rare cancers?
Yeah, it's really sort of a community, and the community just sort of came together around sort of the challenge we found ourselves with my daughter, and so it started as just us trying to survive, and then it's branched out to be a little bit more about others. So it was one of those sort of natural changes.
Well, I know that you worked hard, with her, and she fought hard for a while. And, I appreciate your coming on, because I realized that it wasn't that long ago that she passed. And I was wondering if you would just take a little bit of time to talk about her and
Sure.
And her struggle and how she inspires you today.
Yeah, so that's one thing that grieving parents know that not everyone else gets, is you love to talk about your kids. And so for me to talk about Natalie is really easy. She was in 7th grade when she was first diagnosed with this really rare sarcoma, and unfortunately it was a sarcoma that doesn't give much warning, and so we were faced with a stage 4, very widely spread sarcoma that we were told had no chemotherapy, and it took us a while to digest that reality. You think there's always something that you can do, and so that was the first really big hurdle. But Natalie's, her spirit is always, she's very, very tough, and she just wanted to see what is it that we can do, and so we were involved with clinical trials, and also sort of the process of getting compassionate use of some cutting-edge medicines. And Natalie was really, she was both strong in her own fight, but she was also about others, and so that sort of defined kind of her approach to it. So she would connect better than I would, and would seem to be friends with everybody, and she was very much interested in other people too, in their sort of their sort of fight with cancer. And so that's actually what got us started trying to advocate and put into research even before she passed. And so that was, I really feel like I'm more continuing Natalie's mission, more than just, this is now my mission that she passed in her memory. So it's sort of it's very much what she was about.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. How long was her fight?
Well, so it was April 2012, and was really about 3.5 years. She passed last October, and along the way, there was many times when it seemed like it was going to be shorter than that, and she would sort of she'd kind of surpass what the doctors thought and get a chance to try something different. But in the end, we were blazing new trails that hadn't been walked before, and some of the last things she tried are things that sort of point towards the future for her disease, but maybe need some combinations to be effective. So, for our family, it was a very intense journey. It seemed like many emergencies and so on. It was also a time where we kind of had the community came around us too, and so I had to kind of lose my pride in asking for help and things, and so it left us changed. In good and bad ways. You know, we're in some ways we're limping, and in other ways we've learned to embrace others more. So it's kind of a mix.
Well, she must have been a leader because you are.
Well,
he's really Nathan's the leader in our group.
She was a leader in her own right. In even from like being in high school, she was in leadership, and it was just she was sort of a quiet, but then she found her voice when she needed to, especially on things she was passionate. And she kind of led some efforts at her school to raise money for research. They had an ongoing program, and I remember her asking me. She was kind of thinking through whether she should be involved in this Cram the Stands for Cancer effort. And she's like, Dad, if I do this, I'm going to be like the poster girl for cancer. And she was a freshman. And then she said, though, I don't care. Someone needs to do something, and that's fine. And so she was kind of working through the ramifications of, just being a normal teenage girl, and then also what was important to her with what she had seen with other young people in the treatment. And so that's what she did, and she did that for 2 years at her school very, very successfully. And that it left an impact on her high school, because they would see her coming in and sometimes walking with a limp, but always a smile. And it left an impact on our community, and we're just starting to kind of feel the ripples of that. And that's why our project that we're doing now is really the reason we can do it is because of Natalie's connections, not because we were, as parents, we had all this energy in our grief to fundraise. It was more that there was students that wanted to do things like runs and things to have research in her memory and things like that. So that's
they were.
They
were inspired.
Really to Natalie, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Would you tell us a little bit about the research project, because it's very what is the word? It's very, impressive, but it's gosh, I'm just tongue-tied today. It is impressive. It's a shot in the dark too, because you're looking at very limited resources for this research that's urgently needed. Tell us a little bit about it.
So when you think about like cancer research, there's sort of like some basics that research is built upon, and that's so scientists can test their theories about what might come against this cancer on some sort of a model. And with ASPS, because of its rarity, and also because it's not, because of economics and other things I'm sure you've talked about on the show, it hasn't generated that. I just saw this morning that it was first identified in 1952. Well, there's only 2 cell lines that exist for it, and that's really the basis of testing your theories with medicines. And the more cell lines you have, the more the more authenticity that you feel like whatever medicine you want to bring forward best represents the disease, because it's more variety and it's better data. But with just two, you can see that you don't even have the basic sort of infrastructure for scientists who would like to try ideas on the disease. And so while there's been a few sort of attempts at medicines and clinical trials, mainly by using existing medicines, there's been very limited ASPS dedicated research. And so our project essentially is very personal. It's Natalie chose in some surgeries that she had to make sure that her ASPS tissue was able to be used for research at the highest level. And so it is really her gift that is allowing us to try to generate some cell lines. And
amazing.
We're hoping to kind of double the current amount that's out there. And then we will test, when we have those models, we will test them with drugs to see potential leads to follow up. So it's very much a ground floor type of research project, but it's a
and
very
here too, right?
one.
At the Institute, correct?
Yeah, it's happening right here in the lab. So right here in the lab is obviously very emotional for us to be here and then go and see a sample of the thing that took Natalie that is also her in some sense in terms of the cells, and then we are using that to try to make things better for other families and patients that would are faced with this "there's nothing we can do" scenario. And
it doesn't get any better than that.
It's like planting a seed for the future.
Yes,
we wish someone would have done that 20 years ago, and Natalie and I had the same conversation. Yeah.
And we're running out of time, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks, check it out, cctdi.org. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you for sharing Natalie with us, too. It's all happening here. Science can change the world. That's from Charles Keller.
We hope you have found inspiration from today's show. For more about Janet Demeter and her mission, visit jacksangels.org. As founder and president, Janet strives to assure that children with cancer and their parents have a voice.